That's her level. I'm 43 years old.
I haven't gotten married. And I haven't had children. All these years, I've turned myself into an isolated island. People always ask, why don't you get married? Who actually likes being alone? If I could even meet someone who could make me feel... I am still impressed by the other party's sincerity and truthfulness. And yet, here I am. Then people say, you don't actually have to be so genuine. You can pretend a little. You don't have to always tell the truth. Nobody really likes to hear the truth. Maybe that's my biggest problem. When I see a problem, I just say it out loud. I seek out the truth. But the truth is often very harsh. Being this way ends up hurting myself. So very few people can get close to me. After all, in this day and age, everyone wears a mask, and people prefer to hear pleasant words. They've gotten used to it. But someone like me who isn't good at saying nice things or pleasing others, who just points out problems as I see them, ends up offending people and getting hurt myself. So it's even harder to meet the person I think is right for me. That's why I say I don't want to get married. It's not that I haven't met anyone.
Why is it that so many older single women have a hard time getting married these days?
It's because they don't want to compromise themselves. I know a lot of so-called leftover men, and I think they're all jerks. What does older leftover men even mean? Think about it. All these years, she's worked hard along the way, right? She's put effort into improving her appearance, making herself more attractive, and enhancing her abilities. So why shouldn't she choose a high-quality man, right? Then what's the point of all her hard work? And when you talk about older single men making choices, aren't you also making choices? Why don't you choose someone who's short, unattractive, or overweight? Don't you also have to make choices? Whether you call it survival of the fittest or seeking benefit and avoiding harm, whether it's men or women, we all want to choose an excellent partner. There's really nothing wrong with that, right? Also, how do you define a leftover woman in Dahlia? For example, in Hong Kong, or from my own experience, a lot of the time it's because you want to become outstanding. So after you leave school, you definitely work really hard. When you're focused on your career, it's inevitable that you might neglect your relationship with your partner. That's completely normal. But also, people often think, oh, it's hard for older single women to get married, but don't you think that many of them are actually high-quality individuals? Whether we're talking about women in general or those who are capable. It all takes time, whether it's accumulating life experience or improving one's abilities to achieve what they have today. Just look at Sanchez or Bezos' partner. Aren't they both over 50 and still raising children? And yet they're still doing just fine. Bezos' sweetheart, right? So when it comes to our perceptions, first, I think women's self-awareness is important. At any point in our lives, we can live for ourselves. We shouldn't let others define who we are. Secondly, I think, even though I'm a man, I don't think we should label others as leftover women just because they're older and unmarried. What does leftover woman even mean? Life is your own. You should live however makes you happy, right? If I'm so outstanding, I have the right to choose any man I think is excellent, don't I? So don't worry about how others judge you or the labels they put on you. If I'm happy, if I want to raise my standards, I'll raise them. If I want to look for something, I'll look for exactly what I want. What matters is how to become better and happier yourself. Now, why is it that girls these days can't find a partner?
Because you want someone tall and also handsome ideally, someone who's honest but with a bit of a bad boy edge. Not only should he have some money but also a bit of power. He should be able to take her traveling everywhere, but he can't be the least bit annoying. He needs to know how to dress well and have a good sense of style. He must be clean and tidy and also know how to cook a little. Even though he should look fair and clean, he still needs to have a bit of masculinity. She hopes he's a good person, but when he comes home, he must be reliable. He can look honest, but he can't be too dull or simple-minded. She doesn't want him too bold, but when something happens, he can't be a coward. He can look a bit streetwise, but not be rough. His looks should be as handsome as Eddie Peng, and his demeanor should have that bad boy vibe like Zhu Yawen. She wants to accept his emotions, keep his temper in check, and respect his opinions. Anyway, she's not in a hurry. She'll wait until she finds someone perfect.
A 40-year-old man born in 1985 with an annual income of about 40 to 50 was matched with a girl born in 1992. However, the boy rejected the match before they even met. The reason he gave was that she was too old. My God, I said, the girl is 7 years younger than you. How can she be older? Then the boy was very straightforward, saying that when he was young, he earned less, and girls of the same age dislike him for being too old. Now that he can finally earn this much money and work so hard, he just wants to find someone young. Is that wrong? What do you all think about this idea? I'm clearly already 35, but I often feel like a young girl.
I'm clearly already 35. Sometimes when I'm happy, I still seem like a child. That girlish heart has always been there. But honestly, it really is time to get married. Still, I always want to have a proper romance first. Is that too naive? Actually, I still think that having a normal romantic relationship and then getting married is better. It's like following the proper steps, right? At the very least, both people should like each other a little, don't you think? I still often feel like a child when something makes me happy or unhappy. It always shows on my face.
When I encounter something upsetting, I look all worried and distressed. And when something makes me happy, I'm just like, how could someone like me possibly be suited for marriage? After all these years of blind dates, I've come to feel that for a woman, finding a reliable husband who has principles is extremely, extremely important. Otherwise, at best, you might suffer domestic violence or end up deep in debt, like having to pay off his gambling debts or other loans and so on, or even worse things. It could even cost you your life. Just look at that Sheng case in Hangzhou, or the Hong Kong socialite who was dismembered, or the case in Thailand where a husband pushed his wife off a cliff. All of these were done by men. Men really are physically strong, emotionally ruthless. And when you add in external temptations, just think about it, there's nothing they wouldn't do. People without any boundaries are truly terrifying. Women are always a vulnerable group. They rely on men emotionally, are physically weaker, and at the same time face pressure from age, feeling anxious about getting married and having children. So honestly, it's a pretty helpless situation. So how can you find reliable blind date candidates? From my own life experience and observations, people who are dependable and have boundaries can generally be found among those with the following characteristics. First of all, people with religious beliefs, those who truly have faith, are governed by a higher power. But they must genuinely believe. If they're just the type who goes to gatherings or prays on weekends, that doesn't count. They must have reverence. They must be devout. For example, I once met a guy while taking a taxi in Beijing. He was really talkative and we started chatting about this topic. The conversation was lively and we ended up adding each other on WeChat. So what happened? He told me that after he started believing in Buddhism, he stopped causing trouble for others. He and his wife lives in another city, has been driving a taxi in Beijing for many years, and he's very eloquent, so he used to flirt with quite a few women. He ended up causing trouble for quite a few people, but after he started believing in this particular branch of Buddhism, he completely stopped getting involved in romantic affairs and returned to his family. So you see, heaven really does keep him in check. Secondly, there are those high-level executives working at state-owned enterprises in Zhengzhou, for example. These people are under the party's supervision. If their wives notice anything suspicious or if there's any issue at home, these people, they will all be dismissed. So the price to pay is very high. And finally, there are some big companies like a certain well-known factory in Shenzhen, or companies like Zhongbao Trust, Baoxing, and so on. Many of the employees working there get their jobs through starting from the grassroots level and working their way up, and it's not easy to reach a high position while holding company stock. However, just like with Zheng's company, if employees are found to be involved in things like infidelity, domestic violence, or other such issues, the company can discipline, sanction, or even fire them. So marrying these kinds of people at least ensures that they have boundaries in their actions and won't do anything outrageous. But if you get involved with people from private companies or others who aren't subject to such regulations, then it really comes down to their character and your luck.
Are older single women really worried about getting married? Just look at how hard it is for older single women in these videos. If you don't get married, then if your water or electricity gets cut off, they'll insult you, calling you leftovers, saying you're like wilted vegetable leaves or scraps left on the table. They'll say the nastiest things they can think of, using older single women as a target for ridicule, as a way to entertain themselves, and as an outlet for their own emotions. And if an older single woman does get married, marries a man, then everyone shifts their target and starts insulting the man, saying things like, he must be useless, has he never eaten leftovers before, or to marry someone who's had her water and electricity cut off. Some go further, calling the man spineless, saying they'd rather not ride than settle for that. In the end,
it's as if older single women can hardly find their footing no matter what they do. It's always wrong. Ladies, don't let yourself be brainwashed by what you see online. In our village, there's a woman who's 47, divorced, and has 2 sons, plus an unmarried younger brother. Matchmakers are constantly coming to propose matches for Hershey's, the one being picky and choosy. Later on, a matchmaker introduced her to the owner of a publicly listed company in the neighboring city who drives a Rolls Royce. He took one look at her and decided she was the only one he wanted to marry. He pursued her for more than half a year before they finally got married. And the man even bought her a villa. And as a betrothal gift, he gave her a Bentley and 80 million yuan. After the wedding, when she said she didn't want to have children, he simply agreed not to have any. In the future, he plans to let his younger brother serve as general manager first. And when her 2 sons from her previous marriage come of age, they'll inherit the company. The older a woman gets, the more life experience she has, and the more she attracts successful men. Now, there are 100 million more men than women, so there's really no need to worry about getting married. I have a few female friends in their 30s and 40s. They all married really well. Being in your 30s is truly the prime of your life. Don't sell yourself short, ladies. Never settle. Why should we get married just to become someone's unpaid housekeeper and have children? Sisters, you have to stand your ground, never wrong yourself. And remember, there are 100 million more men than women, so take your time, choose carefully, and don't rush. Many men like to sit in their cars for a while after work.
Don't women like this even more? I've already been sitting in my car for over half an hour. Honestly, there's nothing really bothering me. I'm just zoning out, letting my mind wander. Somehow, being in this small space gives me a special sense of security. Don't you feel the same way? If I had to name a worry, it would be that it's almost the end of the year again, and I'm not sure whether I should go home for the new year. Today, I want to share something a bit more personal with you all, and I'll also answer a question from a follower. I'm 36 this year, and my zodiac year is about to end. Since I was 20, I've been spending the new year alone. A lot of people might not understand if you have parents and family, why would you choose to be alone at a time like this? On a day when families are supposed to be reunited, why make yourself look so pitiful? I rarely talk about my family, even with friends in my daily life. Many of my friends know I have a sister, but actually I also have a brother. When you were little, what were you most afraid of? When I was a child, what I feared most was my parents fighting. For as long as I can remember, our family has never had a meal together at the same table. Not even during the new year. You might be curious, did your family not have a table? Of course, that's not the case. Our family also rarely had that kind of warm, happy atmosphere. It seems like, in my memory, it never existed. We don't even have a single family photo with everyone in it. I only realized this a few years ago. There was one time when I visited a friend's house, and as soon as I walked in, I saw several family portraits displayed in their living room, all in photo frames. When I saw that, my mind just went blank for a moment. Because I had never imagined that the family could actually be like that. Back to the reason why I stopped spending the new year at home since I was 20 is because I couldn't feel any happiness in my family. I don't even know at what moment it started. The atmosphere at home would suddenly become tense, and then, right after, it would be the same arguments I've heard countless times. Have you ever experienced that kind of atmosphere? So when I was a child, I often wondered why they even brought me into this world. I really wanted to escape from that so-called home. When I was a child, I didn't have the ability to leave, but after I started working at 20, I thought, I finally have an excuse not to go home. I only see my parents once or twice a year at most. There are definitely feelings between us, but we barely talk to each other. My older brother and sister are both married with children, but I don't plan on getting married. I've never longed for marriage. I've had a few relationships, and at first I fantasized about escaping my original family through a man, but later I realized that no one is obligated to save you. What others bring you can be lost at any moment. The moment you start having fantasies about others is the beginning of your pain. Looking back now, I find my former self really ridiculous. People often leave comments asking, if you don't get married, don't your parents pressure you? How do you deal with your parents pushing you to get married? Honestly, my approach isn't really something others can use as a reference. Maybe in other people's eyes, this is considered extremely rebellious. I don't answer phone calls, and I never reply to messages from my parents urging me to get married. In other videos where I share my daily life, I seem to talk quite a lot. But actually, outside of work, in my personal life, I am someone who I actually talk very little. You could say I'm a bit of a loner. I don't like making friends, and I habitually distance myself from men who try to get close to me, which is also one of the reasons I've been single for so long. So being alone, not getting married, and living by myself are not problems for me. Since I'm not married and don't have children, all my time is my own to manage. I love working out, I enjoy having a drink, and aside from the burden I feel about going home, everything else is fine. Nothing else really matters to me. Now, I'm also learning to make videos to share my daily life, and when I look back at the records from this past year, I feel like I am slowly getting better. This has also helped me see some of the meaning in documenting the present. Honestly, it took a lot of courage for me to start sharing my daily life, because I'm someone who is very shy about expressing myself sensitive, insecure, introverted, and withdrawn. I have all of these negative personality traits. Honestly, I really hate how sentimental I am. But maybe it was the encouragement from my fans a few days ago that gave me the courage to openly share my vulnerability and inner struggles with you. No matter what reason led you to choose to be alone, even though there's nowhere to talk about it in daily life, we still need to give ourselves a little space to breathe. It could be in your car, or finding a place where no one is around, to let out the pressure that society puts on us as older women. Today, it seems like I've just been rambling on by myself, and since I can't find the right words to end, I'll use a quote from Li Huang to wrap up. My happiness has only one source. It comes solely from within, and it has nothing to do with the external order of reality.